Hello there and welcome to some of the Warhammer World Championship replays from the first stage of the tournament. We're going to have 3 replays from 3 well-known pros of the game and a couple of replays from some of my community members who are both strong players and are well on their way to being pro players as such, which they may well be if they make it to the ends of this tournament. We'll see if they can hang with the big boys. For this first replay I've got Lotus Moon versus Vezival. Now Lotus Moon very often in the top 10 of the Quick Battles ladder. He knows multiplayer better than most, and he's playing the Wood Elves in this one, which I believe has always kind of been his main faction, and he's facing a rather large Empire army, which can be a significant challenge when your army is quite small, like his is. Now he's got 3 units of Way Watchers, going powerful in the missiles and keeping them all working together, so 3 of those. He's also got the Winterheart Guard, the Unbreakable Eternal Guard, and then just 3 units of normal Eternal Guard with no shields, just to save money I assume. Got some Hagbane tipped Glade Riders, and his Lord is just a female Glade Lord on a dragon. So nice to not see the sisters for a change. Also got a sneaky Waystalker, looking to snipe at some characters. And then out wide he's got a healer on an eagle and the Wild Hunters of Kurnus hidden in the trees. So a small but powerful army, got some strong units in there. The Empire has a pretty large army, got some Reiksguard, Zintler's Reiksguard hidden in there and some archers. A bunch of cavalry over this side, bunch of Empire Knights, Reiksguard. So this guy's got a lot of cav, which is often the answer against missile-heavy factions like the Wood Elves. If he brings all this in together, it's going to be hard for Lotus to protect all of those missiles. For the Empire Infantry, it's a bunch of Spearmen, a couple of Flagellants, Sigmar's Sons in there, some Archers as well. So not super strong in the infantry, but a lot of cav, which could give him problems and take out some of his strongest stuff if he's not careful. He's focusing down some of the Archers to start with, just putting a volley on them to get some hurt on them, reduce their numbers perhaps. And the Waystalker, being sneaky here, he's sniping away at the caster, taking off nearly half his health. A nice play to nearly get rid of that caster early. He's been noticed now though. He does have snipe I think, so he can't be seen when he's firing, but Marcus Wolfheart is on the field, the Lord for the Empire. He's giving it back to the Waystalker. So a nice little play there to get some damage on that caster early. Got his Lord flying around, dodging some missiles. Hagbane tips, putting a little fire on this right side. Got a lot of cav coming over there. And his Way Watchers now starting to focus down the cav as it comes in. These are Reiksguard. Getting the Hagbane tips on them to slow them down as well. Give those Way Watchers a little bit more time to fire. Also trying to focus the other cav on this side. The Zintler's Reiksguard. They've been pinned by the Glade Lord. So he's using his Way Watcher ammo on the most dangerous targets to him, which is the cav. He's falling back his Way Watchers now and bringing up his Eternal Guard at the same time. So they can fall back behind them, help keep them safe from that cav. And of course those Way Watchers are doing a lot of damage on these volleys. Got some wavering already. The Zintler's boy's getting a heal. He's done some good damage to this Waystalker though. Marcus is on him. Marcus is not letting him get away with that sniping. But that's a lot of damage on 2 of the cav units already. The other 2 coming around the flank. The Hagbane tips. Kiting that one, doing some damage to them. Still focusing down the cav with the Way Watchers. He's got them in the safety of the Eternal Guard now. He's got these to move through. If anything gets behind, he can use those as little speed bumps. Breaks 2 of the cavs here. That's 2 of 5 taken care of. Brought in the Wild Hunters of Kurnus to finish them off there. So strong plays to get rid of the most dangerous units. 3 more still on this side though. One of them being shot up by the Hagbane tips. Got some good damage on those already. Just Empire Knights there. But his opponent maybe bringing his cav in a little bit too early. Should have waited till his infantry was more up there to distract. Needed to be a little bit more patient. These Empire Knights getting focused now. They're probably going to run out of juice pretty soon. So he's just falling back. He's just taking his time to take out the cavalry. Playing a very patient game, and this is the trouble with a lot of players in multiplayer. They think they just need to rush up into the enemy army's face straight away, but you don't. Sometimes you can run away. Lotus very often plays this kind of skirmish-heavy, patient play style and just picks people apart, which is what's happening right here. But the Empire player bringing his army in a little bit too divided, getting picked apart piece by piece, finishing off these Empire Knights over here. Going to bring that skirmish cav into melee to finish those off. That should do the job to break them. Keeping his Way Watchers away from all the infantry. Just playing it cool. There is still a lot of infantry coming though. There's still a lot coming. But he's broken another cav there. And the Way Watchers still playing it cool behind the lines. Still just shimmying back. Taking his time. No need to rush up straight into the enemy army's face. Take your time. Pick the enemy apart. If the enemy had artillery, he might have to change his plan. But here he can take the time to use his Way Watchers. Finish off these strong cavs. And then all he's got to do is skirmish away that infantry. Still got plenty of ammo left. Gonna hit these exposed death jacks with the Wild Hunters. Bit of a misplay there from his opponent, bringing those too far forward. Gonna take a big hit. Dragon Breath coming in on these 2. That's gonna get rid of them shortly, I'm sure. Another pin from the Lord as well on these Empire Knights. Good use of the pins. Going to get them focused by the Way Watchers again. They had a chance of maybe hitting the Way Watchers there, but no. The Glade Lady and her net said no. So nearly taking care of another cav here. That'll be another one finished off. They're getting a few little heals, but nothing too spectacular that's going to save them from Way Watchers. The Wild Hunters falling back. Random spell coming in here. Not sure exactly what this was supposed to be. Whatever it was, it seemed to miss. But Lotus holding off the Empire infantry onslaught well enough. 1 unit of cav left. 1 unit of Reichsguard still in good condition. Can they get to the Way Watchers? Focusing on some flagellants here. A lot of infantry moving around now. This guy needs to flank a little more. Needs to get everything up together. Needs to pressure those Way Watchers. Just got some flagellants a little bit on their own over here. Oh, the final surviving unit of cav, the Reichsguard. They start to move toward the Way Watchers, but they're getting hammered already. And they just do so much damage, armor-piercing damage. That is not going to be good for those Reichsguard. Wild Hunters of Kurnus coming in, staying busy. Getting some good cycle charging with those. Just coming in, doing his damage, and then getting back out before moving back in. Finishing off the flagellants over here. There's a lot of stuff still on this left side. But here comes the Reichsguard. Can they make it? Or will they rout? Looks like they're going to make it. They're actually going to get a hit on the Way Watchers. He tries to spread them out a bit. They do manage to finally get a touch on him. But he's still being shot by the other two while he attacks one. So he's probably not going to last too long. Some of the spearmen coming up now, though. If he can get rid of the Way Watchers, maybe, just maybe, he'll be able to turn it around. These Reichsguard, though, getting hammered. Away they go. The dragons coming in as well. But the spearmen have arrived. So they're at least going to tie up the Way Watchers. But they are going to skirmish themselves away to get out of there. The Wild Hunters finishing off bits of cav over here. Lots of breaking Empire infantry. Still got these Hagbane tips firing at stuff as well. The healers in there on the Eagle, just being a bit of a problem. But he brings up the Lord to try and save the Way Watchers. Being harassed by a little cav. Nope, that's broken again. Going to bring these Way Watchers back perhaps. But he just couldn't get a hold of those Way Watchers. Was the problem for the Empire. They were just elusive. Lotus does a good job of keeping them safe. And they're just constantly firing, putting out damage on the most dangerous targets on the battlefield. Which in this case was all the cavalry. And now the Empire don't have much left. It's a bunch of crappy infantry that are never going to catch Way Watchers and the cav. So pretty much defeated him in this one. I think the Empire's biggest problem here was he didn't have any patience. He rushed up with his cav too early. They all got shot. Game over. If he'd brought in his infantry first, let them absorb the missiles, let them surround a bit, and then bring all the cav in behind all together at the same time, those Way Watchers would have had a hard time staying protected. But a valiant effort all the same. I thought this replay was a good little masterclass of the Wood Elf patient skirmish playstyle, of which Lotus is one of the best. Got some good work out of his Lord. A little bit out of that Waystalker on that hero. Not too much from the infantry, but of course the money is going to be, there you go, 2,000, 2,000, 1,200. So a lot of money, nearly half the army taken out by the Way Watchers alone. Needless to say, they won the battle pretty much by themselves. Wild Hunters doing alright though, and the Hagbane tips as well, putting up some big numbers. So that's how you play Wood Elves. Empire couldn't really get the value out of a lot of his units, his infantry. Couldn't really get too much fighting done. They got picked apart. And of course, the cavalry is really what got nullified massively. Pretty much no work from any of the cav. So that's what cost him the game. But there you go. Lotus Moon, ladies and gentlemen. He does stream on Twitch. I'll link that in the description if you want to check him out. This battle, a little bit of a skill mismatch perhaps, but that's going to be common in this first stage of the World Championship because you got all the best players that have thousands of games under their belt fighting all the less experienced players. But this guy wasn't bad by any means, but he didn't seem to quite know how to deal with this kind of Wood Elf skirmish. But now on to one of my community members' replays, a man who goes by the incredibly terrifying name of Alex. At least that's what I call him anyway. He's playing the vampire counts against some greenskins here. So greenskins are a very strong faction right now, but they are somewhat weak to these undead factions with all their fear, and their lack of fire damage for the greenskins and magic damage can make it a little bit hard to deal with some of the vampire stuff. So Alex's army, he's got zombies up front, graveguard in the back as standard, double banshee, looking to use those for the fear and terror I imagine. Also has the Mortis engine for the same reason, I'm sure, as well as the regeneration. His Lord is Vlad the Dad, the tankiest of Vampire Counts heroes, of course. So a strong fear and terror core in the middle there. Out on the flanks, he's got one unit of Blood Knights. Over on the other flank, a second unit of Blood Knights and some Hex Wraiths. So a few strong cavs at his disposal. For the greenskins, he's got a lot of strong infantry. Savage Orc Biggins, regular Savage Orcs, some Black Orcs, a Giant in there. Goblin Shaman, Wurzag on his boar. Also got some Savage Orc big and cav, so gone for the big anti-large cav, so quite infantry heavy. Does have that one large giant as well, which could be a problem for the vampire counts as they don't have the best anti-large, and Alex only has Blood Knights on the field. Doesn't have a Terrorgeist, so he doesn't have a ton of anti-large, but he's probably got enough to deal with it. Blood Knights preparing a charge on that side. Greenskins just staying put for now. Hex Wraith's coming in for a charge, but oh, a nice little brain burster there. Does a good bit of damage. Magical damage to those ethereal units. That's the only way you're going to deal with them. So a nice play from his opponent there. But in doing so, he didn't micro this cav. So they got charged by Blood Knights. His other unit of cav at the back. These are Savage Orc Biggin. So they're anti-large. They hit very hard. This one is going to charge though. Big charge between these two units. Both strong charging cavs. Who's coming off worse? Oh, those Blood Knights are taking some fair damage. About the same actually. Blood Knights a little better. But the Blood Knights will do better in the long run. Some Biggins coming over to help them. Blood Knights getting out of there. Hex Wraiths have charged in. Giants in there though. He's given the Giant Fist of Gork so it has magical damage, which will allow it to really hurt those Hex Wraiths. But Alex is getting him out of there. A nice play from his Greenskins opponent, who seems to know how to use his magic damage well to get rid of the dangerous units. This cav though, taking a fair pounding from those Blood Knights. Front lines engaging now though. Alex's Mortis Engine is charged in, but the Greenskins player's got a nice little plan for this. He's got Vindictive Glare on his caster, bombs that straight in the face. That, of course, does magical damage, which the Mortis Engine can't block and will take the full amount of. And then he's also got Wurzag using Gaze of Mork here, but it seems to go off like it's trying to hit the Hex Wraiths, when I think maybe he meant it to hit the Mortis Engine. At least that would make sense, because he's point blank there in front of it, and could probably take it out if he hit that better. Nevertheless, he's done some big damage on that Mortis Engine. That's going to hurt Alex losing that early. He's going to get a little bit charged in the back here as well. He's getting some healing on the Blood Knights, but they're going to catch a charge. Just a small micro error there. Getting some good work with the Hex Wraith though. Charging around, going to bring those on those calves. Going to try and use that fear and terror as much as possible. Mortis Engine has gone down now. But his Blood Knights on the other side, they've come around, hit these archers. That should get rid of them fairly quickly. A little bit of cav left out this side. Just some zombies. Just trying to get that fear and terror with the Banshees. Going after Wurzag there. These Blood Knights have survived. Another Vindictive Glare, hitting that ethereal unit there. He's targeting the Banshees. Again, Gaze of Mork on the Banshees, so he's kind of sniping away at these ethereal units, as is the only way to really deal with them for the Greenskins. We don't have a lot of magical options. Does some good work there, but Alex is healing them up to counter that. These Blood Knights caught fighting Biggins. He'll want to get those out of there as quick as possible. Little cav there. Master of Beguilement on them. They're not going to do a lot of damage. Hex Wraiths bringing in a charge, trying to use that fear and terror. And that's really how you beat the Greenskins as these kind of factions. You don't want to try and out-kill them, because the Greenskins are one of the best at killing stuff. But they have low leadership, so you beat the Greenskins by breaking their leadership rather than trying to kill every single orc on the field. Some random zombies spawned up in the middle there. I think maybe they were spawned on these Savage Orcs. Just trying to slow them down perhaps. These Blood Knights still going strong, getting away from those Biggins, looking for good charge opportunities. The War going off. Maybe it's the back of some front lines to hit here for those Blood Knights. The Hex Wraiths coming around as well. Need to try and get those low leadership Greenskins units, hit them with the terror causing units, and route them away, and then stay on them to do a bit of extra damage. These Blood Knights trying to take on the Giant, but they're not really too equipped for taking on the Giant. Vlad's going for him. He's probably one of the best chances of taking him down, although he is going to take a fair old pounding in the process. But a tough fight for Alex overall. Seems like the Greenskins player knows what he's doing as well. Seems like a fairly even skill matchup, which is always nice to see. I think Wurzag may have gone at this point. I think Wurzag got killed, maybe by this Banshee. She's coming back from somewhere. Can we find the body of Wurzag? I'm sure he got routed off somewhere and possibly killed at the end of it. Oh, there's the Gobbo. There's the Night Goblin Shaman. So he killed the caster with that Banshee. I could have sworn he killed Wurzag, though, when I watched this the first time. Wurzag, where is your corpse? These are all just cavalries. He's got to be around here somewhere. Maybe he's not gone yet. No, just Black Orcs and a Giant in there. We're down to the late game now, though. Everyone's very beaten up. Alex has got a few strong bits left, but the Greenskins have got a lot of stuff. There's a Banshee coming back here. Oh, there we go. Wurzag's over here. Okay, Wurzag didn't quite die. He just got shattered. Very nearly died. That Banshee was on him, but she spooked him away. So yeah, Greenskins are leaderless now, which is obviously pretty bad for the low leadership Greenskins. Vlad still okay. Taking on that Giant, getting some damage on him. Going to bring the Banshee in as well. Still a big fresh unit of Savage Orcs here though. And another one. These are big ones as well. Very dangerous unit. Still got a fresh unit of Black Orcs as well. This is going to be a tall order to finish all this off. Getting some healing on his Blood Knights though. Keeping them in the game. They got about half health back now. But this is going to be a prime example of what I'm trying to talk about. The greenskins here, they've got a lot of life left in these units, but their leadership's going to be pretty hurt. So if you can break that leadership, get those Savage Orc Biggins running away when they've still got half health left, that's going to be a big win for you, because then you can just stay on them and keep doing the damage as they run away. These Biggins trying to beat down the Banshee, but she doesn't feel too much of their damage, of course. Some more Savage Biggins coming in. Zombos everywhere. Greenskins probably want to try and surround this little vampire pool a little bit. Charge coming in, though, from the Blood Knights. Going to hit those regular Savage Orcs in the face. That'll probably get rid of them. There you go, wavering. Just got to get rid of the Giant. It's wavering now. It's going down. The Banshee over here doing fine. She'll put out some damage on these as well, whilst not really taking too much in return. But this is where the leadership of the Greenskins is going to start to struggle. Those Savage Orcs are gone. Some healing for the Blood Knights, helping keep them in. He's got the Giant routed now. He's going to keep the Banshee on it. Just stab him in the heels until he falls over. So that Giant is pretty much done. Only the Black Orcs really left now, and those Biggins that are being stabbed up by the Banshee. So Alex pretty much got this one in the bag. Still got those Blood Knights at about half health after the heals, so they'll be able to cycle charge here. Although they're going to go after these Biggins, try to rout them off. The Biggins have returned, though. Might be too little too late. Vlad's still in there with full health as well, so pretty much nothing left for the Greenskins. Those Black Orcs are going to get slowly worn down. The fear and terror will take a hold shortly. But a good fight nonetheless. Alex did well to come back. He was getting a little bit battered early, losing his Mortis engine. One of his Blood Knights getting fairly beaten up, but surviving. One of them's gone now, but still got one left. Still got his Lord, still got his 2 Banshees, and that has been enough to help keep him in the game. The Giant going down. Heel stabbed by the Banshee. She's coming back to try and finish off what's left. Greenskins not going down easy, though. They've still got some stuff. They're still hanging around, but Vlad is still at full health, and there's really no way for them to deal with that, and those Blood Knights as well. So it's going to be a GG, but a good game to both fellas. Greenskins, of course, a very strong faction right now, so they can be hard for a lot of factions to deal with, but Vampire Counts are one of those that can have some good advantages for dealing with the Greenskins, like all the Fear and Terror and those Ethereal units, which his opponent was somewhat ready for, with a nice combo of the Vindictive Glare spell and the Gaze of Mork spell to do the magical damage to those Ethereal units, but unfortunately in this case, he couldn't quite take them entirely out, the Banshees especially. They've hung on to win this battle with the help of Vlad and those Blood Knights. And there we go. A Pyrrhic victory, but a victory nonetheless. GG's to both fellas. Let's have a look at some numbers, see what kind of work we did. Vlad doing a good bit of work there. The Banshees, 1,700 and 1,000. Very nice. Zombies, they're zombies. They're not going to do anything. Graveguard didn't really do a lot. They got outclassed in infantry, but one of the Blood Knights doing really good work. The other 2 Cavs, not so much, but 2,000 for one of the Blood Knights. They did some serious killing. And of course, the Mortis Engine didn't really get a chance to do a lot. Take a look at the Greenskins. Wurzag doing a bit of work there, 1,300. Fairly spread out damage. Nice work from some Biggins there. And the Black Orcs. Nice work from those. Some of the Cav doing okay. And the Giant doing some big work. Not quite enough, though. It was close, but not quite enough for the Green Boys in this case. Next to one of my favourite pro players to watch, Tlaxtlan Soothsayer, playing as the Empire against the Lizardmen. The thing I enjoy about watching Soothsayer is that he's really a master strategist. He tries to take advantage of all the little things he can, things that most people probably don't think about. So it's interesting to see what he plans and how he takes advantage of those little things. Both got fairly sizable armies here, so no numbers advantage for anybody particularly. Let's see what Soothsayer's got. So mostly a front line of swordsmen and the Sigmar's sons. One spearman unit out in front as well. Got a bunch of handgunners. Spearmen all over the place. So a lot of handgunners. Cannon, 1 cannon. Bit of cavalry as well. Just Empire Knights, 2 or 3 units of those. And that is the most of it. Got a light wizard as well. And his lord is Volkmar on his war altar. So a very balanced, very kind of standard, traditional Empire army. Quite heavy on the gunpowder with the cannon and the 4 handgunners. And as for the Lizardmen, they are approaching. They got some skinks. They got some Saurus with shields up front, as one would expect. A couple of skirmishers up front, chameleon skinks. Cold One riders out on the flank. Not the anti-large ones, though. Saurus Old Blood Carnosaur as the Lord. A Stegodon. And another Stegodon. Double Stegodon. So it's nice to not see double Bastiladon for a change. Empire bringing in some cav charges on the infantry, hitting the skinks and these Saurus warriors. Done some good damage there with the help of Volkmar. He knows that those Saurus are going to outmatch his swordsmen, so he needs to try and hurt them with the cav early. Going to bring in some hammer and anvil here as well. This will put the skinks in the bin. Nice use of the cav there before the enemies even reached him. So trying to take advantage of his mobility, before the enemies even arrived at his main army. Doing some damage, hurting those Saurus, getting rid of those skinks early. Volkmar is a little bit out there right now. He's done some good damage to this Saurus unit though, nearly down to half health. Volkmar is being pursued by a feral Stegodon though. But Volkmar will regenerate, so he'll be okay. He'll get back to his line. The front line doth approach. Empire taking a very defensive stance, playing it cool. Trying to make use of that cannon. Looks like he's sniping at the cavalry over there, trying to stop them getting around the flank. They are of course a big threat to his handgunners. Empire Knights coming back in. Gonna hit another charge on those Saurus, just wearing them down. Swordsmen not engaging them yet, just taking their time, letting them get worn down. Not in any kind of rush. Manticore been spawned up for the lizards. That could be good for harassing the handguns. Got the unbreakable armor-piercing skinks there, the cohort. They're a pretty strong unit in the right matchups. Volkmar coming across the front line, helping out those Sigmar sons, helping out his swordsmen. And dropping a wonderful net over here. Nets the two cavalries and a little bit of infantry. Now going to focus those down with handgunners and the cannons, taking away those mobile threats. A nice play with that net. So Volkmar finished helping out over there. He's been using the cavalry to help out this side with the Saurus warriors. He's taking care of the infantry over here, but he's got a lot to deal with on this side. He's still got a bunch of Saurus to help here. Volkmar dropping his buffs, giving the melee attack, the Grand Soulfire, and a banishment as well. This might be hurting his own troops a little bit, but it gets rid of those Saurus. Maybe even those Huatao a little bit. The Cav's been freed up though. He does have all the Stegodons and everything coming in now, making it a little bit harder for those handgunners to stay safe. One of the Stegodons come in, but he's taking a lot of damage. Cav coming to slow him down. 2 units of handgunners here. Blasting away. Another Stegodon here as well, though. Those Stegodons charging through. He's got the Carnosaur to worry about as well, and the Manticore. There's lots of good disruption units for the Lizardmen, lots of large stuff. It's going to be hard to hold back for the Empire. But it's just turning into a massive blob of madness over here, but Volkmar supporting with his abilities, giving the Empire units the edge in that little battle. He's pinned down the Stegodon over here, getting the handgunners blasting away at it. Using that Cav to just keep him in place while the handgunners do the work. But he's holding them off well. But the Lizard player is coming pretty heavy. Giving him a lot to try and deal with to keep those handgunners safe. Because that's where the battle's going to be won for the Empire. If they can keep their cannon and their handguns firing, they should have this. Stegodon though, disrupting that cannon, getting after it. Taking a lot of damage though from all those handgunners. Manticore coming in as well to try and stop the cannon. And that's all the Lizard player needs to do. Stop those ranged units and you win. For the Empire, he just needs to stop the large units. Stegodon number 1, Stegodon number 2, and the Carnosaur. If he takes care of those, he should have this in the bag. He needs to line up those handgunners. Brings the net down on this one. No doubt going to line up these handgunners to light them up. That could be the end of Stegodon number 1, although he's got a lot of health. Tidying up over here a little bit. Still got this Stegodon pinned down. Manticore's helping there, though. Those Empire Knights are doing okay. Got a little bit of support from the handguns. The Lord over here trying to finish off this infantry. But he can't quite get it done. Those spearmen are hanging in there from all the buffs from Volkmar. Surprised this Lizard Lord isn't going after Volkmar here. He's got him in the open. Volkmar's not the toughest in melee. He doesn't have great damage output or anything, so the Saurus Oldblood with his anti-large would be able to do some good work on him. These handguns though, just wearing down these Stegodons. They got a lot of distance between the Stegodons as well, so they got lots of time to fire. The Light Wizard will probably have another net soon. It's going to be hard for all these lizards to really get anything done. One of them going down, the other one into Rampage. Volkmar tickling it, trying to get rid of it. But with the loss of these 2 Stegodons, that's pretty much sealing the deal for the Lizardmen in this one. There's too many handgunners that are all spread out. That Carnosaur can't disrupt them all, and he's going to get blasted while he takes one out. So he's going to be in a tough spot. Still a bit of Cav left. Some Lizard things returning, but a lot of stuff isn't really going to be able to do the job against everything the Empire has left. Still got some infantry, still got cavalry, still got Volkmar. There we go, this Stegodon trying to get there. He does. He makes it. But he's probably going to get shot by a different unit of handgunners in a minute. The Lord here just about hanging on. Volkmar's on him though, as well as the Cav. The caster's going away. And that is going to be all she wrote. So a nice defensive plan for Soothsayer there. He even used a little pool of water on the left there as a defensive point to set his army up against. So his left side was kind of covered by that. And the enemy would have had to flank all the way around that to get behind him. So that's what I mean, taking advantage of all those little things he has at his disposal. And the Saurus Oldblood trying to get Volkmar. He's done some good damage, to be fair. Volkmar's out of regeneration nearly, and he's pretty beaten up. But I don't think it's going to be enough. Handgunners now focusing down that Saurus Oldblood, and away they go. A Pyrrhic victory, but a victory nonetheless. Good game to both fellas. Let's have a look at some damage values. Volkmar getting some work there. 2 grand. Nice. Not a lot of work from the infantry, of course. Not going to do well fighting lizard infantry generally. Not where the money's going to be made. But the handgunners, though, one of them not doing so well, but most of them putting the work in. The cavalry doing okay. The cannon doing some work as well. So fairly spread out damage for the Empire. Fair work from the Saurus Old Blood. Couldn't get anything going from the Saurus, though. That was obviously a lot of money spent on those, but they couldn't really do a lot. So he neutralized the infantry well. Stopped that cavalry well. The Stegodon did some work. Stegodons did a fair bit of work, but ultimately it wasn't enough. There you go. Next to another community member of mine, Willow. He recently won my tournament, beating out some tough fellas. He's playing the Vampire Coast here against the High Elves. And Vampire Coast, one of the main factions that he played, both bringing fairly large armies in this one. We're on the Alpine Ridge map. So there's a big old hill right in the center, both positioning fairly close to it. Willow being quite tightly packed in his army, and his opponent, the High Elves, being very wide and very long spread. Let's see what the coast has brought to the party. A bunch of dick hands up front. A couple of bombers in there. Two of those on either side. Got the Depth Guard. Got Silostra. Nice to see her on the field. Normally it's Noctilus or Luther Harkon. So nice to see her out and about. Got a couple of mortars there as well. One on either side. So going for the ranged plan a little bit, but not too heavy. Got the Lamprey's Revenge. A very strong unit in many situations. Got some sneaky Mourngalls over here. One of them crossing the field. The other one running off into the trees. Looking to do some sneaky stuff with those perhaps. Got some Scurvy Dogs at the back as well. And does he have a caster? He does. Fleet Captain of Vampires. Now for the High Elves, we got a lot of stuff. A lot of Rangers on the front line. Looking to beat his way through the dick hands. Oh, that sounded wrong. I often call them dick hands because when you click on them, it sounds like they say dick hands rather than deck hands. So yeah, we call them dick hands around here. A couple of Illyrian Reavers on the flanks. Some Lothern Seagull out there. They're coming around the flanks. His lord is a high archmage. He's very irresponsible. Got those Mourngalls coming back. Got two more Illyrian Reavers hidden in the trees over here as well. Looking to get behind him. Get after those artilleries perhaps. Charges coming in on the bombers though. The dick hands have gone forward to meet the Rangers. Maybe a little too soon. It's left those Rangers and the mortars a little bit exposed. Probably wanted to take the bombers up with the front line or keep the front line back for a while and just use that range advantage a little bit more. Got the Depth Guard in the center here though. These are going to absolutely crump most of the High Elf infantry. He spawned up the damned Knights behind the line as well to get after the missiles. A nice play there to disrupt them. Also got some Scurvy Dogs over here munching on another unit of archers. So doing a good job of controlling the missiles so far. Illyrian Reavers are coming in though. Those Mourngalls trying to get involved. Getting a bit shot up in some places. Depth Guard making short work of the Rangers though. High Elves do have the double noble surprise though. They can be difficult to get rid of when working together. Keeping his mortar just about safe for now. It's still firing on stuff, but it is being shot at. Those Lamprey's Revenge looking to go over and get into some fights. Trying to get a hold of those Illyrian Reavers maybe. The Mourngalls kind of stuck in the middle here, getting a little bit pounded, a little bit surrounded. This battle's gone a bit all over the place, but such is the way of Warhammer battles. Looks like he's going to lose one of his mortars here, is Willow. Cav's going to jump on it, on those bombers as well. So could be good night for those two. Going to get a hold of some Cav there though. He's done a good job of breaking away all these missiles though. There's 1, 2, 3 of them taken care of, or mostly taken care of. The damn Knight's running out of juice. But he's taken away a lot of power. There's another one that's been beaten up. So he's beaten up most of the missile units. Taken away a lot of damage potential for the High Elves. He's still got the Lamprey's Revenge in good health as well. They'll still have plenty of time to do some good work. Breaking the Lothern Seaguard over there. That's another missile unit taken care of. So Willow kind of winning it on this side. Over the left from this angle and the right. It's been pretty much won by the High Elves. Controlling that side. Those Illyrian Reavers coming around the flank. A big part of that. Willow pushed up quite early though. Did end up fighting uphill though, which is never good because the enemy does get some slight damage advantages. May have been better staying back, trying to use the mortars a bit more, making full use of their range because there's no rush. He had the ranged advantage here. Could have stayed back a little bit. Lamprey's Revenge getting in there though after the nobles. He's using taunt on those to bring their armor and melee defense down a bit. A nice play there to get some extra damage on those. Bit of cav coming in, but Lamprey's Revenge will be okay. They're pretty damn tough. Silostra and the Depth Guard going around together, just murdering everything they touch. But both players have done a good job of taking out each other's ranged units. But for the High Elves, that was a bit more costly because they lost a lot of archers. Got some Lothern Seaguard just about surviving here, but probably not for long once these Depth Guard get a hold of them. For the High Elves, they may have wanted to commit a bit more to the rush play and not have so many archers because those got thoroughly destroyed. If you only had maybe 2 units of archers or maybe just 1 or 2 strong units of archers like Sisters of Avalon, and just had a bit more cav, maybe some white lions, mobility that the Vampire Coast can't really get after too well because they don't have any cav themselves, apart from those damned knights that got spawned up. That High Archmage is taking a pounding. I think that may have been handgunners that did that to him. He got spawned up handgunners. There they are, on the move. Willow getting some good damage on these nobles finally, breaking one. There's one noble down, one to go. A lot of High Elf units returning on this side though, but Willow's got it in the center. He's got his little mortar crew here. Oh, he's healing his mortar crew, and it looks like he's trying to get them back to their precious mortar, which they are very close to. He may be able to get another mortar on the go. That heal sorting them out nice. Though there is some cav nearby. Some some in the trees here as well. If he can get this mortar going, it's definitely going to help him out. There are some rangers still in pretty good condition. He might be able to hit these before they get to him, but probably not. They're still forming up. That cav is going to get him. He's bringing back the halberds to try and save them, but it might be too little too late. It is probably going to be. They're wavering and crumbling already. Oh, the other unit of cav is coming as well. So he's going to lose that mortar, most probably. A bit of a waste of the healing spell, but got to take a chance on it. Could have come off really well if the enemy hadn't have noticed, but the High Elf player did have his wits about him. Though shame we can't say the same for his lord. Should have probably not smoked that extra blunt after dinner before the battle. He is going to lose that mortar, but it did draw the Illyrian Reavers into the halberds at least, so he'll put some damage on them. A few bits. Cautiously returning, a lot of wavering High Elves trying to come back and do something, but Willow's still got some strong stuff left. Still got these Mongols getting after that noble. They finish him off. That could be a big loss of CP for the High Elves. Still got the Lamprey's Revenge in really good health. Still got his caster just about. Just got sniped at by that Lord, but he's okay. Still got the Depth Guard as well in fairly good health. Getting after that last noble, finishing him off. So Willow only really got a few strong units left. And the High Elves have got a lot of units left, but they're all very weak and very beaten up. And not powerful units like the Lamprey's Revenge. So going to be hard for them to stick around with leadership when all this big scary stuff starts coming their way. He's Depth Guard taking care of the noble. He's been taunted again. Some rangers coming back. The High Elf player probably just needs to form his army up. Try to keep them all together. Try to get the missiles on the Lamprey's Revenge. Maybe he might have been able to do this, but Willow's just got a lot of strong stuff left. Still got Celostra as well in full health. Not a lot the High Elves will be able to do about her being ethereal. They don't have any magical attack units, apart from maybe the Lord, but he's probably out of magic by now. Both squaring off. There's a line in the center. Willow on this side. High Elves on this side. All Willow needs to do is push up. High Elves need to try and use that ranged advantage. The few missiles they have left. Can they wear anything down at least? The favor bar isn't looking good for the High Elves. They just really don't have the tools to deal with what Willow has left. Those Lamprey's Revenge, those Depth Guard as well. And of course Celostra. So not a lot they can do. It's just a matter of time really. All their units are very, very near death. Those Lamprey's Revenge starting to shoot some ranged attacks. That's going to spook a few units off. The Noble coming in. Get some heals. Not sure it's going to save him though. Oh, a summon coming up here. Some gunnery mob. Bringing those pistols to the fight. Putting a little damage on that Lord. If they break him, it's going to be game over. He's probably holding most of the CP right now. But probably not for long. There we go. He goes away and everything goes away. A Pyrrhic victory, but a nice victory nonetheless. Good game to both fellas. Let's have a look at some damage values. Celostra not doing a great deal of damage. Probably did a lot with their spells though. Couldn't get a lot out of his infantry apart from the Depth Guard of course, who were absolutely monstrous. Mortars did a little bit. Mongols did a little bit. Some of the Wolves doing well. And the Lamprey's Revenge doing a good bit of work. So mostly in the key players there. The expensive units. But you can see all the CP that he would have had left in that Lord. In those Depth Guard being in good health. And the Lamprey's Revenge. That's just too much for what the High Elves had left. Got a bit of work from the Lord. Some work from the Nobles. Not a lot from the Rangers. The missiles got really shut down. So they couldn't really do anything. And the Cavs doing a little bit, but not enough. So Willow doing a good job of neutralizing the stronger parts of the High Elf army there. The missiles gave him the W. And for the last replay of the day, Caradryan of the Flame, aka Felkon, playing as the Dark Elves facing the good old Dwarfs. Now, Felkon is a man who's played in my tournaments in the past, and he seems to have an uncanny knack for almost knowing what the enemy's going to bring. It's like he's looked at the enemy's army before they've started the battle and has built perfectly to counter it. Somehow he almost knows what the enemy is going to bring. It's really strange, but it's just through experience and knowing how to deal with every threat, I think. He does it really well. But in this case, he's got the old dwarf box to deal with, which honestly, while it does look intimidating, is often the mark of a less confident and maybe newer player. But Felkon is prepared to deal with it because he's got a whole lot of shades, a mixture of regular shades and greatsword shades, 8 units altogether. That is a lot of armor-piercing missiles, and that's the key point, armor-piercing. He's also got 5 units of bleak swords, his lord is the supreme sorceress of beasts, and he also has a death hag mixed in as well. So a very extreme, almost one-dimensional build, but Felkon is really good at putting those together, and it's going to work really well against this box. Again, it's almost like he knew that the enemy was going to bring a box. So the dwarfs moving up a little bit, for some reason, not using his ranged artillery advantage. Although, of course, he can't see the shades at this point. They do have stalk, so he's in for a nasty surprise. Felkon lining up on both sides. The armor-piercing missiles start to fly in. And you know this dwarf player is now thinking, oh, scheisse, there's 800 shades. What am I going to do? But you can see the red lines. He's focusing in on the artillery, the flame cannon of the dwarfs. He's going to try to gun that down first, taking out the dangerous threats to his army, which is going to be all those missiles mainly. Because once he takes care of those, there's not a lot the dwarves are going to be able to do. They won't be able to catch all these shades or any of this dark elf stuff. But here's a masterful little play. He's positioned his caster lord to fire an amber spear so that it goes through not only one unit of thunderers and maybe a little bit of other infantry there as well. Goes through this unit of thunderers, does a whole bunch of damage, and then carries on into a second unit of thunderers to do a whole shit ton more damage. So expert positioning to allow his magic missile to hit 2 units there. He aimed it at this last unit and it went through the unit in front of it anyway. So he did a lot of damage to both units of thunderers there. A very nice play. You can see that cannon has been focused down and destroyed already by all those armor-piercing shade missiles. He's going to focus the thunderers now, and they are going to get absolutely deleted by all those armor-piercing missiles. The flame cannon got deleted. These thunderers are next. They probably won't last too long. They've got down to half health already. And then the other unit of thunderers is probably next on the hit list. So he's deleting the most dangerous units in this dwarf army, which is very often the ranged units. But he's not without casualties. He's got a couple of broken boys from all the blasting charges mainly. But they'll come back. They'll still have their ammo. There goes one unit of thunderers. They have shattered as well. They've taken so much damage so quickly. They've just had enough. The other unit going to be focused now. And once he gets rid of those, it's just going to be a case of taking his time and picking off all the melee infantry. The dwarfs finally pushing out, realizing they need to push those shades back. He can't just sit there and let them fire at whatever they want to. But there's so many shades, they're all going to be spread out. It's going to be really hard for these dwarfs to take them out. That one unit of thunderers has survived. There are a couple of units of iron breakers, one of them being shot up here. So those can be a tough unit to get rid of, but with all those armor-piercing missiles, they're going to struggle. Even those big old iron breakers are going to struggle. He's starting to push out after the shades, but they're just too slow. These boys are just too slow. He does have the blasting charges on these actually. Maybe they'll be able to do something. These iron breakers though getting worn down to half health. But none of this dwarf stuff going to be fast enough to catch shades. So they're just going to be kited for the most part probably. One of the thunderers still remains trying to shoot the lord, I think. It's just an absolute miss out on getting some good shots from behind here. That'll avoid those shields of the dwarfs. Blasting charges coming in. Dwarfs just don't have enough to push back all these missiles, and they're just getting absolutely rained on all over the place. Dwarfs done a good bit of damage to the Dark Elf Lord though with those thunderers, but probably not going to be enough. Broken a unit there. There's one iron breaker's gone. They've actually routed as well. Normally they'll fight to the last man. The bleak sword's coming in. Bleak sword's just tying things up, buying time for these shades to do the work. Belagar on the field is the lord. He's getting shot by missiles though. But it's just a matter of time for the dwarfs in this one. There isn't a lot they can do. They don't have the mobility, as is a dwarf weakness. They're not going to catch the shades. Their armor-piercing missiles are hurting them a lot. Obviously, that is a big strength of the Dark Elf army. Felkon lining up another amber spear here as well. Kind of like we saw earlier. Going to find some lined up units, aim it at the farther away one, and you'll probably get both. A very nasty little trick. I like it. A summoned manticore there, been broken. But he's going to die anyway from being summoned. But a masterful display of beating a dwarf box. He forced the dwarfs to come out of their box because he took away their strengths by beating them with the armor-piercing missiles. And like I said, it's an extremely one-dimensional build. It relies on the armor-piercing missiles alone. But Felkon is really good at building those kind of builds and making them work, as well as bringing more traditional and balanced kind of builds. He doesn't only just bring extreme builds or anything, but when he does, it seems like he knew what the enemy was going to do, and he was ready for it, which is exactly what happened in this case. Good game to both players, though. I'm pretty sure the dwarf player wasn't expecting that, though. All of those armor-piercing missiles, there wasn't much he could do in that case. Lord doing a little bit of work with those amber spears. Bleak swords doing a little bit. But of course the money was going to be in those shades. He did have the great sword shades as well, so they have the armor piercing melee damage, which they probably got to use a little bit, but all about the shades there. Dwarfs couldn't really get a lot done. Some work with the blasting charges, a little bit from one of the thunderers. Iron breakers got shut down, and of course the artillery got shut down. But that's Felkon for you. He does have a YouTube and he streams on Twitch sometimes, I think. Links in the description if you want to check him out. He's got a good army building guide if you're stuck on how to build armies. He can throw you some ideas in there, so check him out. But there we go. A bunch of battles from the first stage of the Warhammer World Championships. Of course, in this first round, it is a complete mixture of skill levels, so you're going to get the pro players potentially playing completely new players to multiplayer. But for everyone that's getting involved, even if you're completely new and you've lost every game and you've got absolutely smashed, fair play to you for getting stuck in and having a go. I salute you. The first round is pretty much over now. I believe it ended maybe today. So the second stage is going to begin where the herds will be thinned out a bit and you'll be getting all the better players facing each other, where there's going to be a much more bigger test for all of those players. So we're going to keep track of everybody in this video and see how they do, keep showing you some replays as we go. Thanks for watching, people. Hope you've enjoyed this. See you in the future.